Welcome back, everybody. We're talking about a growing interest in self-defense for women in light of recent sexual attacks in the North Hills. Our guest, Sam Rosenberg of Impact's Personal Security Training, is offering free clinics this week. He had his first one this past Saturday. As you can see, we've asked him to show us a few things here this morning. This clinic was packed. Over 100 women in attendance. This morning we are in our studio, and with the help of our interns Mary, Kate, and Amy, we're going to show you, along with Sam of course, a few of the moves that the women at that clinic learned. It looked spectacular. I mean, a huge success, right?
It really was. I mean, I find myself in this unique position to be able to offer these skills to the community. North Hills resident myself, Pittsburgh native. It's a good opportunity to give back. I was really happy to see so many people taking a part of it.
It was a free clinic. I mean, it's hard to pass up. How many of those can you do? I mean, you've only got so much time on your hands, right?
Agreed. Yeah.
But you do have a couple more coming up.
We do, and you know the thing is that the demand has been overwhelming. You know, we don't try to profit on any kind of tragedy like this, so our objective was to do as many as we could. I think we put together 5 specific clinics over the course of the next week, and you know we'll serve our fellow man as well as we can.
Well, thank you for what you're doing, and let's with the help of Amy and Mary Kate show people what you're talking about when you talk about self-defense.
So the first thing we're going to be talking about is, if you think about personal security, there's a lot of misconceptions, there's a lot of difficulties that people perceive. They think if you're not bigger or stronger or faster than the bad guy, you're going to have trouble. And the reality is that it's more of a mental game than it is a physical game. And we don't have time to really get into all the psychology, but one of the things I want you to understand is that fundamentally, when you're dealing with a personal security situation, if you just take action, very often you'll get a paralysis response out of the bad guy. It's the same paralysis response that he's looking to get out of you. If you've never been in a situation, so for example, someone points a gun at you. Have you ever experienced this before, Mary Kate? So this is an example of a stimuli, if you will, that perhaps you don't have any experience with. And since you don't have any experience with it, it's very challenging for the brain to process it and effectively articulate a response. So what typically happens in those cases, regardless of whether it's a gun or a knife or someone grabbing you, if there's no experience in the memory banks, if there's no training, if you will, we end up typically freezing. We go into a very distinct paralysis response. Usually
you go into shock.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. It's usually not panic, it's usually not running for the hills. We usually just have an inability to think under those conditions. And that's where the bad guy that's what he's trying to do to exploit. He's trying to get that response to exploit. But the thing is that if we simply respond, if we know how and if we're willing and able to respond, very often we can turn the tables psychologically and get that same action out of him. Mm-hmm. Now, like I said before, our methodology is we train the body and the mind follows. So the way we try to keep people from going into paralysis is by basically teaching them physical skills and building confidence. So now if we look at it like this, if we're talking about incapacitating a human being, we want to understand not so much fixed position things, how do you escape a bear hug or a headlock, but rather where the body is vulnerable and how you can affect those vulnerabilities. So I'll give you an example. Do you ever wonder why a boxer gets knocked out when he gets hit on the chin?
It goes to the brain. It's like a concussion, yeah?
Well, actually that's the misconception. It's not a concussion. So you're not causing an actual concussive damage to the brain. It's actually just very simply a nervous system disruption. Can you hold this for a second, Amy? So if you look at it right here, Mary Kate, behind her ear, there's a nerve called the mastoid process. So John, if you feel that right here, you can feel that there's a sensitivity there.
Oh yeah.
So what happens is if you get smacked in the chin, the back of the jaw slams that mastoid process, and it's like a power surge to the brain, which causes effectively a short. So it's like it blows the circuit board, it blows the fuse box. Now the first thing that happens is equilibrium loss, which means they can't fight or chase you. And the second thing that happens a lot of times is a knockout. Now the thing is that this whole region of the chin and the neck and the brachial plexus here, do you feel this little point of contact, is extremely sensitive, and there's no muscle protecting it, which means that it doesn't matter how big or how strong the guy is. If you take something and hit someone in that zone, you can do a lot of damage, not necessarily permanent injury, but disruptive damage to a degree that this person can't really be a threat threat to you and you can escape. One of my concerns is always, can you escape fast enough? Sometimes the best way is to put someone on the ground. So for example, most bang for the buck, if you take something in your hand, basically as what we would consider an improvised weapon, this becomes a force multiplier. Okay?
A rolled up magazine.
Exactly. What's a magazine made out of?
Paper.
And what's paper made out of?
Wood.
Wood.
Yeah, it's a piece of wood. So you can imagine just hitting this. You feel how irritating just a little touch is? Imagine what would happen if you hit someone strongly there. Go ahead and take that, Mary Kate. Okay. Let's give it a shot. So put your right side forward just for the time being. And it doesn't really matter which side's forward, but like a tennis swing, what I want you to do is just swing through this. And when you're hitting, imagine you're going to strike somewhere in that triangular area of that critical zone. So you're just going to hit right through this target, okay? Go ahead and wind up and crank it. That's incredible.
Nice.
Now,
nice.
You can see touching hurts. When you do something like this, go ahead and really now put some hips into it and throw your body into the movement. Get some body weight. That was wonderful. Now do it again and come back with a backhand. Go ahead. Swing through. It's incredible.
Nice.
I don't want to get hit with that. By
Watch
any
out,
means.
guys. Mary Kate's in the room.
So, go ahead and try it again. Big swing. 1, 2. And then there's other angles of attack. If you wanted to go up, you can swing up and through. You can drive downward. And if you drive downward, this is one of the most effective angles because it causes that guy to just collapse. But try that upward swing and then downward. Good. And just put it together. 1 to 2. Go ahead. Crank it. Good. Let's try all 4, just for the fun of it. Go ahead. So you hit, 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 hit. That's very, very good.
And he's down.
Absolutely. It's about creating an opportunity to escape. So, it's not about trying to win the fight or knock the guy out or all these kinds of things that a lot of people think about this long, protracted competition. It's about creating an opportunity to escape, disrupting him, getting ahead of that psychological process. Surprising him, causing him to go into that flight mode himself where he doesn't want to be here and just wants to escape.
Turn the tables on him.
Exactly. And it's not so much just that you have to hit this critical area. There are other areas, for example, in the arm, here, or even the back of the hand. So even if someone's protecting himself, you can hit through those zones.
Yep.
This is a lot of the same material that we teach in these clinics. And the thing is that unlike seeing it, we have the opportunity then to really give people enough time and training to get the muscle memory developed at least to a certain degree.
Okay, how about Amy now? What's she going to demonstrate for us? Good job,
here's the
Mary
thing.
Kate.
Excellent job, Mary Kate. Now, this situation that we're dealing with this serial rapist, one of the alarming things is that he's using a firearm. Firearms are used less than 3% of the time in incidences of rape. In my experience, a situation like a sexual assault is something that, by and large, a woman can escape very, very effectively from. There have been studies done that basically say that if a woman resists in a sexual assault, that as high as 92% of the time, they can escape that situation without being raped. Those are hard statistics. Most people don't realize that. And one of the big misconceptions about rape is that if the perception is, if I resist, I'm going to get hurt worse or killed.
Right.
And that very, very rarely happens. Usually, in fact, when a woman fights back, it's because she's already been injured and is going into that fight back response. The key is that we want to have the skills to be able to do it effectively, efficiently, and basically powerfully.
And right off the bat.
Exactly. Exactly. Taking control is always best done immediately. So now when we look at a situation like a gun, okay, we all know that there's a delay from action to reaction. Okay, if we've driven a car, played a sport, we know that there is this delay. So we know that if the brake lights come on in the car in front of us, we have to have enough space and time to start the braking process or we're going to have a collision. The same effect happens when we're dealing with something like this. Remember that what the bad guy's expecting is paralysis. What we can do, however, is use the element of surprise and the fact that we have this reaction time gap to take advantage of that situation. Most people think this is worst case scenario. I can tell you it's not. One of the things that we do is a lot of international executive protection, and we train some of the best operators in the world for doing close protection work. This is not an uncommon occurrence, relatively speaking, and I can tell you that it's very manageable if you know how to do it. So here's the thing. Amy, you ready? What I want you to do is imagine you come to this low surrender like this, because what you want to do is throw him off balance to make him feel like he's in control. And then when you come up to grab the gun, you're going to go into a very simple bilateral gross motor technique, meaning a very simple technique with both hands. So you're going to redirect the gun, for example, go ahead, up and away over this shoulder or this shoulder. For now, just take it over this way. Go ahead. So you drive it up. Very good. Now you got about a half second to do that with total control. But it's really a lot longer than that. But just go ahead and jump on that. Go ahead. Up. Now grab the gun. From here, mechanically, all you have to do is drive it down. And it becomes less of a strength thing and more of a biomechanical torque on the wrist.
Well, and he might actually shoot himself if you're lucky.
Very likely. If he's got his finger in the trigger in this situation,
Boom.
he could have a very good outcome there from that standpoint.
Yep.
So I want you to go up, then down, drive it down. Perfect. Now right here, do you feel how my wrists just melt in that situation? Push forward, hit me with the gun, and then pull away. So that's the technique. Let's try it nice and fast. Ready? Okay, go. Up, down, push, pull. Good.
Nice.
Don't hit me so hard.
Don't hit me so hard.
And don't smile while you're doing it, for God's sakes. You like hurting me.
Amy's enjoying it.
All right, so you go up, down, go ahead. Up, down, push, pull. That's excellent. That's excellent. Now, of course, if we had more space, I would encourage you to continue backing up, create as much separation as possible. You know, get out of there as quickly as you can. The basic idea, though, is you can feel how it mechanically is not difficult to actually turn the gun against someone. So hold the gun, for example, nice and tight. Just feel. You feel how easy it is to cause that collapse of the wrists?
Yeah.
It's not a function of strength. I know I'm a lot bigger than you, but the idea is that this is a simple lever. It's just like using a wrench. You know, I'm all about using leverage and someone's natural abilities to basically take control of a situation.
Well, you've done a great job with this today, and I want to thank Amy and Mary and also
Thank you, girls.
obviously Sam for coming in. Nice job.
Thanks,
Just so
John.
we know,
Appreciate
folks,
it.
this is a plastic Glock, and
Don't try it with a real gun, please.
yeah, that's right. We don't want to be practicing with a real weapon. You can learn self-defense tactics yourself at free clinics this week offered by Sam's company, Impacts. There are several sessions this Wednesday and Saturday at the McCandless Volunteer Fire Company and this Thursday at the La Roche College Gym. The clinics are free, but advanced registration is required. So here's the number that you need to call, 412-364-2112, or you can go online where you'll find the link and a course description. That can be found at kdka.com/PTL.